What's up, everyone? Thralls the Middle here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick, and doing a collection update. Kind of got backlogged a bit with all the reviews we're doing for Screaming Toilet, and really need to get back to just the stuff that I generally purchase, just to keep you updated what else is out there, because there's a ton of releases out there, and I'm always finding different little gems here and there. So, let's get it started. Diocletian, Amongst the Flames of a Burning God. This is war metal. I believe this is what they call this style. It's very much in the realm of blackened death metal, but there's definitely a lot of hints of grindcore and even power violence on here. Some of the stuff even reminded me of Nosum and Nails. And the more I listened to it, the more grindy it kind of became. While it's heavy as hell and it is just dirty and grimy sounding, it really lacks hooks for me. It was an alright album. This came out on Profound Lore, and I guess they have some early releases that I should check out just to get a better bass sound from. But this one's only kind of okay. You know, I'll keep jamming it and checking it out, but I'm not super sold on this just yet. But it's definitely worth a listen if you're looking for something obscenely heavy. And yeah, that's about it. Check it out. Nucleus Entity. This is one of the albums I got in the last Metalhead box, and it is a really cool blend of old school death metal and technical death metal. There is killer bass work on here, like right from the get-go. Some really solid songwriting here, but I think it gets a little too focused on being technical rather than, you know, throwing out some cool riffs and hooks here and there. But all in all, I think it's a pretty solid album. It's like Death meets Demolish in parts. It's really technical, but it's kind of has its own little appeal to it. I think these guys are from Chicago, and they have some other releases. Kind of want to check them out. Came out on Unspeakable Acts, co-released through Dark Descent. Cool sci-fi theme to it. I like that. I'm a sci-fi buff. Definitely want to check out more by this band. And like I said, if you like death metal and technical death metal, definitely check these guys out. Vitriol, Pain Will Define Their Death. This is the original EP that came out on Everlasting Spew Records before their debut on Century Media. Every song that is on that full length that we reviewed, and everyone seemed to like that review, is on this. Granted, it is a more raw, gritty production, but this band is already raw and gritty as hell. The dissonant riffing on here is insane and technical. This is one of the heaviest EPs I've heard. Their album is one of the heaviest albums I've heard this year. This came out the year before, and it is just as biting, just as nasty. The title track, one of my favorite ones on both this and the full length. Definitely check out Vitriol. This is one of the most interesting death metal bands out there right now. It's just insane. Check them out. Omen, Resting the Revelation of Futility. This is another one that I got in the Metalhead box from Dark Descent. And this is blackened death metal. Kind of leans more on the death metal side for the most part. I gotta say, I don't necessarily like the production on here. The vocals seem really far back in the mix, almost to the point where you can't hear them in parts. And it's very muddy. But I think the songwriting is alright. It kind of reminds me a lot of Incantation, except mixed in with more black metal. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of hooks in there. And granted, Incantation's heavy as hell. They still generate some good, memorable riffs on here. The riffs on here aren't as memorable. I particularly like the track Convulsing before the Vacuous Altar. I think that one was an awesome standout on here. And I think it's really cool that Metalhead Box is getting stuff from, you know, not the same label, because for a while there it seemed like they were getting some stuff from just essentially one label, and now they're getting stuff from Dark Descent and occasionally Season of Mist. So this is a pretty decent release. If you like blackened death metal, you might dig it. Yeah, definitely check it out. Okay, probably going to butcher this pronunciation. It's Swedish, so this band is Mylingar, and it's called Doda Sjalar? I don't know. I really don't know. This came out on 20 Bucks Pen, co-released on Amor Failty? I don't know. Look it up. Can't really make out the print, and it really doesn't say on the spine. It was advertised as blackened death metal, and it is definitely that and beyond. It even has some almost avant-garde metal parts. There's a lot of stuff that reminds me of Portal's level of insanity, which is really high. If you've never listened to Portal, that's a head fuck of a band. I have to say that the sound overall is almost trance-inducing. Like, it is just nuts. It kind of, I guess you can almost say it's noise, but it's artful. And, well, alright, minus the puking and drive heaving noises that pop up on here. That was kind of weird. I'd say it's kind of comparable to Vitriol in some ways, but it's really kind of its own thing here. Like, I think it's closer to the Portal end of the spectrum. It's interesting. I don't know if it's something I would jam all the time, but I dug aspects of it. Definitely check it out if you're looking for something insane sounding. Destruction, Born to Perish. Finally got my hands on this album, and it's pretty good. This is the first one I think they've had another guitarist on there besides their main guitarist, and it really hasn't changed all that much. You know, they do a little bit more, you know, doubled harmonies and such, but they usually did that in the studio anyway when they were just a three-piece. And the lead work is still really good on here. The new guy, I forget his name, is taking over on most of the lead work here. And for the most part, this is pretty straightforward Destruction. If you know Destruction, it is just straight-up German thrash metal. It's really good. There are some longer songs on here that kind of border on balladry and then into their regular forte. And they kind of missed the mark. They just don't really have that Destruction impact to them. But all in all, if you love Destruction, chances are you're probably going to really like this. So yeah, definitely check it out. Nominon Recremation. This is one I picked up in a used bin at a record store not too long ago. This came out on Deathgasm Records, or at least re-released on it, I think. This is awesome Swedish death metal, except they don't go with the HM2 tone as much. It's almost kind of sludgier and more akin to someone like Morbid Angel. But the songwriting here is really, really good. There's a lot of catchy riffs on here, a lot of cool transitions, like a lot of clever writing too. And it really borders on thrash metal too. The vocals could be just as accessible in a thrash band as they are here. Really riff driven. A lot of fun to listen to. I'm definitely going to have to find some more stuff by these guys. Definitely check out Nominon. I really, really enjoyed this release. The new EP from Coltd. And I'm just going to read this because there's no way I'm going to remember all this. Vespertina, Synaxis, A Prayer for Union and Emptiness. This is the new EP from Coltd, which are a blackened sludge, post-metal kind of hybrid. Really, really good. Except for, honestly, it only has one track that I really got into on here. The opening track is more of just an intro, and there's only 3 tracks on here. Dirt Black Chalice is the one that actually really works as a solid song, and it's really well written. I really dug it. It definitely embodies everything in their sound, and it actually has a really catchy melody that is throughout the song. I just dug how this song moved and kind of flowed. It's really good. And then the last track, A Prayer for Emptiness, is more or less kind of a meditation or an outro. I mean, it's good. It kind of bookends the intro and outro thing, but it's only 3 tracks, and I kind of wanted a little bit more actual music out of it. Still, I think it's pretty good. The one song in here was worth getting this for because I really, really dug it. So yeah, check it out. Coltd, pretty good shit. Crimson Moon, Moors, Vincit, Omnia. Took me a couple times to say that right. This is a one-man black metal act that, according to Encyclopedia Metalum, is from San Diego, but also from Germany. I don't know which one they moved to. It might be from San Diego to Germany. Either way, this is really, really good melodic black metal. It kind of favors more of a sound close to early Dimmu Borgir, and maybe a little bit of dissection in there too. Really awesome writing, very dynamic, lots of cool guitar work. Some interesting chanting vocals on here that almost sound like Orthodox prayers in church, which are good to add atmosphere to, but sometimes they come off a little campy because it just, I don't know, it just does. It just sounds a little weird in these moments occasionally. This came on Devourment Morty Productions or Records. I don't know that label very well. I don't know really what they signed, but I know this band's been around for a while, and I need to check out some of their earlier stuff. But I did really enjoy this. Just for a few moments there, I thought it was a little weird, but for the most part, this is a really well-written, well-constructed black metal album, and a really good one-man project considering all that went into this. This is really good. Definitely check it out. Encoffinized, Chambers of Deprivation. Apparently this one is kind of hard to get hold of, and it says it's on Severed Records, also on Maggot Stomp, but the thing that kind of threw me off was, open it up here, and this is on a CDR. Now, even on Discogs, it said this is the only way that the CD version of this pops up, and I was lucky to find this in one of my favorite record stores around here. This is a two-man death metal / death grind act. Really awesome old school death metal sound to it. The only thing I don't like in here is the sound of the snare. It's really, really plunky. It's almost Saint Anger level. I'm just not into that, but overall, I really like the music. I really like how well constructed it is. And it actually includes their original demo on here too, so you can get to hear the early raw versions of these songs. But yeah, if you're a fan of old school death metal, and especially stuff that's coming out of the Pacific Coast right now, like Cerebral Rot and Witch Vomit, you'll definitely dig this. It's just a beast of an album. Check it out. Devourment, Obscene Majesty. Well, I finally got it. A lot of people that were commenting on the videos kept recommending I check out the new Devourment. I'm not a Slam fan, but I heard a lot of good things across the board, and I have to say, I dig parts of it. I'm not a Slam fan still. It really didn't convert me, but it's interesting that the production doesn't really denote Slam at all. The production here is heavy and raw, but it's really well produced. Like, it kind of reminds me of a Nails album. It is nasty sounding. The vocals still are kind of the one-note, low, burped / clogged drain vocals, and I'm just not into that sound. But there's a lot of cool guitar parts in here. The slam riffs are kind of used a little bit more sparingly on here compared to the earlier stuff, which I thought was interesting. Like, this actually has more atmosphere, and it is just dense sounding. It is so fucking heavy. While it didn't convert me to Slam or anything like that, it's not everyone's thing. I really like where they're going on this album. I'm curious to see where they go next on this. Pretty cool release, I gotta say. Skullsmasher, Rocket Hammer Brain Surgery. How do you pass on an album title and a band name like that? I found out this was actually another project headed by Andrew Lee, who is also in Ripping Corpse, and I absolutely love their releases they put out. And this is his straight-up death grind project. There's a lot of nods to bands, namely like Terrorizer and Repulsion. There's even a Repulsion cover on here, which they absolutely kill. It's Festering Boils, one of my favorites. Just Andrew Lee and another guy named Brandon Crosshair, and they're just doing the guitars and vocals, and it's really good. The drum machine sounds pretty obvious, and I think maybe they were kind of go for not as over the top as Agoraphobic Nosebleed's drum machine, but kind of close to it. But this really embodies a lot of death metal in here too. Like, most of the songs are super short on here, but they're really, really well done, and they're a fuckload of fun. The song titles are ridiculous. I mean, as ridiculous as this album cover. Awesome stuff. I would like to hear more from this. I'd like to hear more Ripping Corpse. Yeah, Andrew Lee, you're a fucking solid writer, dude. Kick ass. And finally we have Meth, Mother of Red Light. This is a noisecore band from Chicago, Illinois, and I mean, they're definitely noisy as hell. This came out on Prosthetic Records. I kind of just bought this one on a whim just because it was on Prosthetic, and they do really good stuff. This thing goes beyond just dissonant melodies and just has noisy ones. But they also bring in, of course, a lot of core elements in there. So this kind of came off sounding to me like a mix of a band like Norma Jean with a band like Daughters, which is a real interesting mix of stuff. There's not a lot that I really got into on here because generally you're just greeted with wall-to-wall weirdness and noise. And while I appreciate them trying to do a lot of cool, different shit out there, it really didn't grab me. But that's just, again, personal preference. It's just my taste. Check it out. Form your own opinions. May not have been my thing, but could be yours. And, of course, as always with these collection updates, Links to all the music will be below, or at least as much music as I can find by these guys. So that wraps up another collection update. Gonna get back to listening to more stuff, and of course more album reviews coming, because they sent us a bunch of stuff, and well, yeah, I love metal, so. But yeah, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. We do shit like this all the time. Catch you later.